Okay, so I feel like very glad actually to be following on from the space, because I think in some ways there's a lot of parallels between what we've been doing at FACT with the Artplayer platform and with the space, which I'm going to kind of go through a little bit later. But I'll also start off by saying that I feel almost slightly fraudulent, because streaming isn't part of our platform at all. So in some ways, I've been frantically scribbling notes during the space presentation because they've been telling me things that I didn't know and would be very useful for us. Although art streaming will form a very core part of Artplayer in the next iteration of it, it actually isn't there at the minute. I'd like to say to begin with, thank you to Honor and Cyan, and to David Jackson, if he's here, for helping, for inviting me down to give this presentation, but also for helping with some of the logistics of getting down here. So, Artplayer TV, I'll introduce, I'm Roger McKinley. My role at FACT is as Research and Innovation Manager, and part of that role I've developed, or initiated the development of the Artplayer platform, of which the online presence is Artplayer TV. What I'm going to try and do in this presentation, and I'll try to keep to time, is really give you an idea of where it came from, what it is, where it's going, and who's it for, and also what it can do. As it says there, I'm the Artplayer project manager. Now, the role of research and innovation at FACT, and for those who don't know FACT, FACT stands for the Foundation for Art and Creative Technology. We're based in Liverpool. We've been running out of a building for the last 10 years, which was built on regional, European regional funding. And we're a technology and resource provider for arts organisations across the UK sector, and have been doing that for 20 years as part of the MITES service, which we run in there, which I came out of. So my role at FACT for the last 11 years, until I created this post for myself as Research and Innovation Manager, was actually providing services for the arts sector in terms of filming of content and hiring of equipment to organisations and artists to show their work off in the best possible way. So what is Artplayer? Well, it's very basically, as it says here, it's a free to use, and it's a national online platform for the arts. It's a way for arts organisations to show a place and a space for all arts organisations for free to show off the work that they do based on the media and moving image content that they create around their programme. We want it to be really an asset for the whole arts sector, so we don't police or gatekeep in any way the content that those organisations put up on the site, on their channel on the site. But what we do like to ensure is that backing up the platform, we've got services which will help those organisations to actually create content, either for free as advice or as in an affordable equipment-based system. We started, I'm going to sort of talk about how it got started. Really we saw, and this is before we knew about the space coming on, we saw a need, because of the number of organisations that we work with who create content, and artists who create content, a need for a place to put that after the programme, after the exhibition, after the show within the venue was finished. So we applied to the Arts Council for some funding, and we got a 60k fund to do this with, to create a pilot, to create a kind of product for people to use, hopefully easily. We finished, and we actually launched the sort of test phase of the project in June 22nd, so fairly recently. And between now and, between June 22nd and June 22nd next year, we've committed to keep it going for at least another year from our own funds within FACT as one of our KPIs. So it's a key platform for us in our relationships that we maintain and build with other arts organisations. And we want to listen and hear back from people who use the platform to see what and how they want to use it best. So it's very much for us about communicating across the sector about what those needs are. It's free, and you create, and I'll show you the actual platform a little bit later on. You create your own channel on the platform. You are the content provider. We don't police it, as I said. It's primarily aimed at promoting the arts industry and the arts sector as a whole. And it's designed really, as I said before, with the production and services support that we've got backing it up. In fact, we are an arts specialist organisation. You know, we understand, I hope we understand well the needs of the sector, and that we're in a good place to actually provide what that sector needs. There are other activities in this area. These activities are mainly kind of aimed at individual artists, as well as commissioning spaces, including digital and online, such as Rhizome. The space is obviously in there, and organisations that we've worked with as part of this process of actually creating the platform have been Lux Online and Access Web, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later. But as I say, what we really found was that a lot of the activity in this area has been primarily aimed not at organisations, but at individual artists. So Lux Online, Ubi Web, Access Web, they're all really, really good and doing fantastic work in profiling and bringing to the public individual artists. But it was interesting that the space, and where Artplayer wanted to start off, was to do this for arts organisations too. There's a phrase I kind of borrowed from Darwin, actually, in terms of the relationship between Artplayer and the space. And he came up with a phrase which was convergent evolutions, which is where I feel like we're kind of at on this, and where we can have conversations either during the session or beyond the room about where we can go mutually. So how did we get started? How did we know what to begin with? Well, we spent a fair amount of time actually doing some research into what organisations do. We contacted over 150 we contacted all the then regularly funded organisations to find out how much content they were actually creating and what they wanted to do with it, and what they might want to get out of such a platform that we were proposing. And I'm just going to go through a few quick slides which sort of indicate what those responses were. We had 150 respondents, so it's around about a fifth of the total RFOs at the time. And we combined it with some of the research that we'd been doing, particularly a piece of desk-based research called the Digital Ecology Report of the Northwest, which was done with Abby Gilmore from Manchester University. So there is a lot of content creation and streaming live in relation to this particular session. It seems obvious that there's going to be a lot more content going to be coming up online. At the time that we did coming up within organisations, at the time that we did the survey, 70% of organisations actually said they produce video. This was quite obviously very heartening for us as we were starting off to try and create a video sharing platform which was dedicated to the arts. And a very large percentage were aware of the need to publish that content online in some way, shape or form to reach their public through digital. An overwhelming majority, 93%, were interested in some kind of video sharing platform. I'm not sure what the response, the thinking was behind the other 7%. And from my point of view, in some senses, why wouldn't you be interested in some kind of video sharing platform? And again, to underline that note about us doing training provision, 75% really wanted to make sure that we were providing backup and knowledge and information about how you train to capture content, how you best go about it, how you retain that knowledge within your organisation as well. So what platforms were people using? Well, the vast majority, again, were using familiar platforms like YouTube and Vimeo. The relationship between those two, I think Vimeo's probably crept up by now. But only 36% had a capacity within their own websites to actually share some kind of video content that they make. And this was ramified our belief that there was a necessity for a shared site. 50% use Facebook. This research was done about 1.5 years ago, so I would guarantee that the Facebook and social media spaces would have been definitely on the increase since then. Oh, the time goes so quickly. What did they want to get out of this platform? Well, they wanted to make sure that it succeeded in actually promoting the UK arts industry. So over and above, in fact, in some ways, 78%, the amount of traffic it generated to their own website, what they felt at the time, and bear in mind that at the time we did this research was when there was a lot of very hard staring from central government at what the funding system and situation was within the UK arts sector. So it was a time when the Film Council was on its way out, when regional development agencies were on their way out, and so on. So I had to have, so I think that the 81% actually reflects that sense of us needing to kind of work together to make the best use of what we do, and to give what we do further reach. So we started the channel based on this research. This is just a few of the kind of companies which have sort of joined us already. We've got 93 different channels on there. On top of the ones which are listed here, there's sort of key marquee organisations like the South Bank Centre and the Hayward Gallery. DADA, Disability and Deaf Arts, we talked about access earlier on as well, and that was very important that we had them on really from a very early stage. So we, at least if we couldn't implement some of the requests around subtitling or signing and so on, at least we would know the need or begin to discuss with them an approach which might work. The Royal Exchange Theatre Company, MEMA, Upper North. We've got, as I say, 93 different channels on there, and we partnered with some of those organisations, not actually any of, apart from Manchester Camerata, not actually any of these. We partnered with Dada Disability Arts, Site Gallery, Grisdale, Manchester Camerata, and the Unity Theatre as we were developing the project in the pilot phase to make sure that we tried to cover, we were developing it in the right way for a range of different art forms. Currently on the site we've got over 400 pieces of content, and that's increasing daily. We've also not got any, we're also looking now to see what kind of opportunities we can create for arts organisations beyond this original sort of video sharing vision for it. We've had approaches from the business, quite a number of approaches from the business sector to see so we were sort of looking to see where we can have some kind of business element which isn't obvious on the site when you kind of land on it, but is like a facility or an opportunity for business organisations who supply resources to the art sector to advertise their work on there, but that doesn't interfere in the same way that you didn't with the space. They didn't want to use streaming, didn't want to have advertisers on streaming. It doesn't interfere with the basic experience, which is about getting great art to everyone. So the businesses that we've sort of looked at, there's quite a few. 2030 Media was one of them. They approached us. They wanted to kind of have a channel, and we couldn't give it to them, but we say, well, let's talk and see what we can do with it. They're based in San Francisco Bay Area, run by a guy called James Daly, who's feature editor for Wired. So if he can see potential in this, then I think there is potential in this. Stage scripts, obviously with live streaming and with a lot of what works quite well in an online environment, is, as you saw with the space, is performative works. So stage scripts, who are a major supplier of kind of performers and script writers for the dance and media sector, they approached us. And My Movie, which is quite an interesting one, really what we're doing is trying to reach everyone, every arts organisation in the UK. But not everyone in those organisations, not all of those organisations have any kind of have some kind of capacity to create or edit content. So My Movie, who's run by a company called RRP TV, asked us if they wanted us to put in an in-browser editing tool, which will allow organizations who are capturing, even on low resolution, to actually edit online in the browser from a space which is directly related to Artplayer. So we were very interested in that kind of development. Some of the opportunities that I think we've exploited and some which we want to look at. As I say, I felt slightly fraudulent because we don't have a streaming live capability on the site yet. But nevertheless, what we have done is we've done co-commissioning. So we've worked with the Castlefield Gallery in Manchester, and I'll show you a little video of this in a second, some snippets, so sort of you can get an idea of some of the quality that we can produce as part of the project. And we've done training. We've initiated a project with Common Practice, which is an umbrella group based in London, again, which I'll give you a little bit more detail on the next few slides. We definitely have increased the digital footprint for the arts organisations who've signed up for a channel, and if anybody wants to know the figures, they're slightly later on. And I personally think that you can use those kind of figures, you can actually count those as visitor figures for your organisation. We want to look very strongly at where we can introduce research and research collaboration into the platform too. So one of the, like with the My Movie editing tool, that's one area of research and collaboration. So that's a future development we're looking at. And we realized too that really at the front end, at the landing page, and I'll get to that in a second, you need some kind of entry point. And the entry point we decided upon was to create a short form piece of program. It's around about between 3 and 4 minutes, called In Focus. And In Focus is effectively a short form program which is put together from content that's provided by organizations that have a channel on the platform, or that we generate with them if we feel there's a strong enough reason for doing that, using the resources that we've set aside at FACT to do that. So for example, with the Liverpool Biennial, which is on at the minute, we're covering content for them, and we're supporting them in disseminating that content through both Artplayer, but also mutually through their own dissemination channels. We have a deadline for our streaming live, so it's again why I was frantically writing notes. On the 26th of October, we're going to be streaming live a symposium that we're running out of FACT that we want to put into Artplayer. So you'll access this streaming live event through Artplayer. The Random Act Symposium is really built around a series of commissions that FACT got. 25 commissions from Channel 4, and the streaming live event will be artists' intervention into broadcast. So obviously the whole notion of broadcast has changed, and that's partly what we're talking about here. So these areas and topics of discussion will form a core part of that streaming live event. So fingers crossed we can get it to work with the help of your tech notes. I'm just going to briefly, hopefully this will work, jump out and show you a little bit of the commission. Co-commissioning, I think, is the place to go for arts organisations within the sector. It allows you to pool resources, and it allows for really for kind of multiple marketing in particular as well. Very useful way of doing it if you've got very small budgets to capture or create content. This is one that we did with the Castlefield Gallery. Castlefield Gallery itself has got quite an interesting story because they didn't actually receive further funding for their during the kind of MPO, RFO to MPO. Stop that a second. MPO to RFO to MPO changeover. But they're a key organisation in Manchester that work with artists that are emerging, not just in the Northwest, but across the UK. And we wanted to work to support them, really, with relaunching themselves, rebranding themselves, and relaunching themselves. And one of the ways they saw as a very key way of doing that was to work with new distribution models and new content creation models around their programme. So we commissioned a piece by 3 artists, Naomi Kashiwagi, Michael Barnes-Winters, and Ronnie Fraser-Monroe. Ronnie Fraser-Monroe is based in London. The performance, which we recorded, took place in the Castlefield Gallery. And if you weren't at the performance, the only way you could see it would be either on the Castlefield Gallery website or the Artplayer platform. So I'm going to play this briefly.
I think that art in general can be, certainly should be, dangerous occasionally. And I think that television, broadcasting, casting, filmmaking, I think all of these things are no different. At Castlefield Gallery in Manchester on the 5th of April, tonight, is a number of pieces called iCast 2012. The idea behind these 2 projects is really to kind of have a look, perhaps even a swipe, at the whole notion of public broadcasting, public dissemination of culture.
We've got a live event with 3 artists led by Ronnie Fraser-Monroe. The gallery's been turned into a kind of lab, a kind of media lab, an iCast lab. But more than that, we are filming the whole performance, so it's going to be an Artplayer piece.
We're very delighted to be collaborating with Naomi Kashiwagi and also Michael Barnes-Winters. They've both devised pieces as part of iCast 2012.
I'll be using a wind-up gramophone tonight. I'll take the record off and apply electrical tape, and then once the electrical tape's applied to the records, you can create loops and glitches. So it's just subverting the use of the gramophone and trying to create something new. When I do performances with the gramophone and the records, I don't use the tape in a strategic way where I know, oh yeah, I can get that sound from there. It's just putting the tape on and then it's more of an exploration of the sound. So it's always quite exciting but also quite nerve-wracking as well, because you just don't know what noises are going to come and yeah, how it's going to sound.
This piece in which I'm doing is called Voodoo Doodles. What people will witness is a ceremonial masking. There is this really claustrophobic activity going on, which also will be in the space as well, live. And there is the voodoo priestess who will be applying makeup to my face. She's trying to turn me into something else, basically.
For iCast 2012, I'll be presenting 3 of my alter egos. We have Vada, who is a seasoned representation of officialdom. Then the second character to appear will not be appearing so much physically as virtually, and that will be MDP, Monique de Poisson. The third character in iCast is the extremely lovable Cyberkinder, the main protagonist. I think he'll probably, by that time in the evening, just be shouting the odds. This is the Screen Graveyard, and this is kind of our little part of a statement about redundant dead technology. One of the things about technology I think that we're playing around with here is, what does this technology do? And is it enough basically that you have this technology that you can access stuff really quickly, but actually what are you accessing? I mean, this, like most creative works, is about making people think.
This is really quite raw, I think. This has got a lot of energy, and hopefully people's heads will pop.
So I'm showing you that because really in terms of an event, this would have been ideal to kind of cover as a live streaming event. As it was, we created this promotional video around the content, around the event, and then used it as part of our sort of marketing campaign, if you like, to actually promote the Artplayer platform itself. Each one of the individual performances were also recorded and available through the channel that Castlefield Gallery has on the Artplayer platform. And very quickly, the Common Practice Group. This is the group of arts organisations that Common Practice are an advocate for. So they kind of operate as an umbrella organisation looking after this this lot. And this is very much about training, because we've, in the last week, just confirmed a proposal with the Common Practice Group, this group of organisations, led by Mute Publishing, to really start to build knowledge through training into arts organisations, not necessarily for them to do the groundwork in capturing and creating content, but at the very least actually have the fundamental understanding of what can be expected from, say, freelancers if you're bringing them in and employing them, or what to expect from online streaming, what kind of quality can you get at what price point. So that's going to be happening very shortly. We've agreed, the funds are there, we just agreed the time frame for this. And another opportunity we have is around competitions, competitions that we run on the Artplayer platform itself. One example was a 5K production services opportunity that we sent out to organisations who signed up for a channel on the platform. We had a really good response, and we're also very pleased that Access Web will use this 5K production services. And we chose the 5K for a particular reason, because we feel this is the kind of entry point. The previous film I showed you with iCast was done on a 5K budget as well, but that included the artist's fees, it included equipment, transport, cameras, filmmakers, and so on and so forth. I think 5K is kind of a good figure to think on if you're creating a promotional film for yourself, for example. Access Web, for those who don't know it, I imagine most people here probably do, do fantastic bits in Leeds, and they do sort of fantastic work advocating individual artist practice. They run their own competitions as well. So some quick stats. We get around about 4,000 visits per month on average, but it's an upwards curve. So we're cautiously optimistic that that curve will continue to go up if we are take the same approach that we have been doing for the last year over our marketing of this. Most of those are from the UK, with 10% from the USA. On average, and this is quite interesting because we get 5 pages on average from each UK visitor, which means that a lot of people come to the site to actually watch one individual film because they've heard about it through cross-marketing or whatever, but then we'll go over into other areas and other pages on the site, and that's really important for us. Also important is the figure around the 3-minute visit duration. It's worth bearing in mind that if you're looking for a general public, they might not want to sit through a sort of 40-minute performance. And I don't know about you, but I know I quite often sort of just chop through and skip through. So a 3-minute duration in terms of if you have a channel on the platform and you want to have a first video that someone will see when they land on that channel, it's wise to think of it as possibly limiting it to a 3-minute duration. And also, 30% people actually enter through the landing page, which is quite good, because it's the place on the site where we've got some kind of editorial control. And I'll show you that in a sec. And interestingly, too, I thought 15% social referral rate. I'm going to skip through these because it's taken a little longer, but this is just a little bit of crowing about how, this is from Manus Carey, Head of Creative Programme at Manchester Camerata. These are people that we've worked with. Actually, I will quickly note that he states that it's had a demonstrable effect on ticket sales. So actually having worked with us to create kind of content for their channel on Artplayer, they noticed that had a throughput through actually straight to ticket sales based on the people who've come to the site. And Grisdale Arts was quite an interesting model, so I'm not going to skip through these, because really it was about, with Grisdale, we did a piece with them on Ray Davis, and Ray Davis from the Kinks, you might have seen at the opening of the Olympic ceremonies, doing Waterloo Sunset. He has created a play called Child's Play, which is designed to be played in village halls up and down the country. I think it was originally launched at the Barbican, but it was also shown, and we covered it at Coniston in Grisdale. It's been fantastically well received on Artplayer, and it's probably probably the most popular viewed material. I think it has over 3,000 hits at the minute. We've redesigned and editorialized the landing page, which I will show you, I promise, to put it on there to show the kind of figures that we've got on that. Hello? Speak up a bit. Speed up. I know. Katrina Boyle from MIDI Music Company, again, ground up, really fantastic organisation in Lewisham, doing training young people, giving them confidence in sort of public performance. See if I can get onto the site now. So I'm just going to show you the landing page here of Artplayer, if it lets me, if it does it. Tack. So here we have, as I mentioned here, this is effectively what it looks like when you come to it. You can explore this in your own time, but we have a main area for the media player. We have recommendations that we will post up from FACT, we think kind of covering key events or things happening across the sector, across the UK. This one, Rhys Chatham's work currently at the Liverpool Biennial. We have a small editorialized picks sort of area in this, what we call In Focus. We have also, obviously, well, not obviously, but currently popular, so the most viewed ones. And you begin to see the kind of viewing figures that are current, and some of these were only posted, what's that, the 8th of the 8th? When's that? It's a little bit older, 13th of the 8th. So these are up for around about a month. And then we have, as soon as you post a new piece of video content onto your channel, it will get prompted on the landing page. So again, given that 30% of traffic comes to the landing page, it's a very useful feature in that it's helpful to encourage you to keep posting content. I think we've got there's Ray Davis on there. So there's nearly 3,000 visits on that one. And that is an original and unique piece of content, as is Babelfish here. So these are actually artworks and discrete artworks in themselves, rather than, the only place, in fact, where you can kind of see Babelfish in Child's Play is on Artplayer. Very, very quickly. Then we have a channels tab. These will include all the organizations, number of hits, and so on and so forth, that are on the site, and ones that have got content. Also ones that are not. So you can actually create a channel without actually having any content on there. You may want to do that just so until you get to the point where you have content to post on there. Or as a tool, as a link through, if people are landing on the site, and just find your organization as a link through to your own website. So this site is exclusively about video. There is obviously some text, and that text you control yourself. So if you're on let me just quickly go to a channel. So with 20 stories high, this text is all inputted by the organization themselves. This banner is inputted by that organization. They upload all their videos, and they manage those videos themselves. You can turn them off, turn them on, hide them, change the banner, do whatever you like. Artplayer, as I said, I mentioned this In Focus. This is some of our In Focus films on that. Go and have a look at those. Anytime, and there's Ray Davis talking about Child's Play. Interesting story there is that kind of, with the Child's Play work, we got a 2-minute snippet on BBC Breakfast TV. And it meant that within, I think, 2 weeks, the figures, sorry, not in 2 weeks, within 2 days, the figures massively jumped. So in terms of the viewing figures, so there's a real throughput to Artplayer by getting some kind of additional coverage to the work you do in your local and national media. And then on there also some of the services that we kind of, there's Matt Adams from Blast Theory who was here earlier. And some of the services that we offer in backing this up is video production, editing hire, equipment hire, and other digital services. Okay. I put these in here just in case it didn't actually work. So this is what we want to do, exactly in line with the Arts Council aims. We want to be able to make sure that people who are creating digital content as part of their programme, that goes further, that increases their digital footprint, and that they connect with audiences from perhaps, audience and artworks from perhaps genres or arts areas that they might not normally go to because of the click-through from the website. We're looking at commercial areas and streaming too at the minute, and also getting some of the bigger marquee organisations on board, because we figure that with these kind of companies, and we've already done a little bit of work with Baltic, we can get, we will get part of their marketing drive if we want to co-market the platform. To get the bigger organisations on board is a very efficient way of kind of sharing that marketing resource. And we know, we're sure that if we can do that, then those, getting those organisations on board will be better for smaller organisations. Because bear in mind that Artplayer is aimed at everybody. Everybody can create a channel. Everybody can create, can ask us for support on that as well. And everybody who creates a channel self-manages that channel. Tiny little snippet at the end. I'll stop it halfway through to show you the In Focus.
Welcome to Artplayer In Focus, a monthly roundup of the highlights on Artplayer. This month we're at the Hayward Gallery on London's South Bank to see British artist David Shrigley's new exhibition, Brain Activity. Plus, Yorkshire's major new art gallery, the Hepworth in Wakefield, presents a new exhibition from 4 contemporary artists. But first, Artplayer go behind the scenes of Babelfiche, a collaborative film project by Dave Griffiths, using the unique medium of microfiche film.
My name's Dave Griffiths.
I'm going to stop it there because I realise we're short of time. But I just wanted to show it to you, at least that first 33 seconds of it, to see, because the Hayward Gallery, and this is not always about Artplayer, in fact, creating content for you. The Hayward Gallery film in this, and the Hepworth Museum film in this, were supplied to us as part of their own marketing campaign. So they made those films themselves, not with Artplayer in mind, but we were able to redeploy them, and they were happy for us to redeploy them on the In Focus programme. So for me, again, that's I'll say again, that's about an efficient use of your marketing and your resources to encourage increased traffic to your site, to your performances, to your events, as a means to get your great art to everyone.